Okay, folks, it's 6 o'clock and I am calling the regularly scheduled meeting of the Common Council of the City of Platteville to order. It's Tuesday, December 10th, 2024, and we are in the council chambers on Bonson Street. Colette, we'll start with roll call.
Ken Killian,
Here.
Tom Knoll,
Here.
Lynn Parrott,
Here.
Kathy Kopp is excused, Todd Casper,
Here.
Barbara Doss,
Here.
Bob Gates.
Here.
Okay, the first item on our agenda is consideration of the consent agenda. The following items may be approved on a single vote and motion and vote due to their routine nature of previous discussion. Please let me know if you preferred separate discussion and action on an item. We have the council minutes from November 26th, the regular meeting. We have payment of bills. We have the financial report for November. Appointments to boards and commissions. Tonight I have 3. John Zulke to the Board of Appeals for a term ending October 1st, 2027. Lynette Dornack to the Airport Commission for a 3-year term ending November 1st, 2027. And Carol Hamus to the Commission on Aging for a term ending July 1st, 2026. That would be a partial term. Licenses, there are licenses in your packet, 1- and 2-year operator licenses to sell and serve alcohol, taxi driver licenses, and taxi vehicle licenses. And then we have the 2025 Grant County Election Cost Sharing Agreement.
Yes.
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Colette will vote.
Killian,
Yes.
Knoll,
Yes.
Parrott,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, and I'd like to extend a special welcome to the Webelos Pack 89, who are working tonight on their community badge. So very good, very good. Nice shirts. And we're all dressed out. Very good. Thank you for coming. And Michael Walsh contacted me and said, would you please, because I can't come tonight, remind people that on Friday this week, and Friday is certainly Magic on Main, but as part of Magic on Main, both the 13th and the 14th, there are wagon rides available between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. The price is $100 for the wagon, which carries up to 10 people. So it'd be like $10 a person. So wagon rides, grab your friends, family, and come and enjoy the lights and the Christmas music, etc. So wagon rides as part of Holiday Magic on Main, which is this coming weekend, the 13th and the 14th. I have one person who has asked to speak, Kevin Reed on public safety in Platteville.
Public safety was going to be my topic tonight because a police chief just sent me a threatening, intimidating letter last week. And then I got a call yesterday from Clinton over the police department. That's police intimidation. I'll talk about all that in January if I have to. The first reading tonight comes from the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 18 through 24. Woe to those who draw sin along with cords of deceit, with wickedness as with cart ropes. To those who say, let God hurry, let him hasten his work so we may see it. Let it approach, let the plan of the Holy One of Israel come so we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks, who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. Therefore, as tongues of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down into the flames, so their roots will decay, and their flowers blow away like dust. For they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty and spurned the word of the Holy One of Israel. Now, you can't get it plain, you can't say it any plainer for that. You people have put in evil for good for a long time. That's going to cease. Now, if I have to come back here in January, we're going to get into this little letter, the phone call from Clinton. But right now, tonight, I'm just going to give you my best offer. And hopefully I never have to see you people again. You get that statue out of City Park and you take a hammer and you bust up that honor roll. That statue should never be placed any place in the city with that honor roll on it. And if you do that, we're right back at square one. If you get that statue out of there by the first meeting in January, you won't see me. And I won't be up here railing about your crummy little corrupt police department. If you don't and you want to double down, well, I had a bitch toy poodle one time. That dog, when she came in heat, she would double down and she'd lick her vagina. It was half entertaining, half gross. It was more gross than entertaining, but it was kind of both. Don't double down because you're in the wrong. Now, I know it's hard to stand up and eat crow. That's what you people have to do because you put yourself in this position. I never wanted my name in the park for the veteran statue. Hey, I'm glad it's there. My kids can come back and look at it. But when you put them drunks and punks and dirty cops named in City Park to be honored right along with our veterans, that is so wrong on so many levels. It will never stand. And you'll never get rid of me until you get rid of that statue out of City Park. Hey, all you have a Merry Christmas. I am a man of God. So that's why I didn't come here tonight and rail on all of you. Just remember them words. Isaiah chapter 5, 18 through 24.
Okay, thank you. Any other council members who have any announcements? Anybody from our illustrious department heads? Then we'll move on into the reports. There were reports in your committee that are in your packet. The tourism committee report, Kathy isn't here. If you have questions, please contact her. Plan commission, Todd, is there anything?
Nothing to add.
Right. Water and sewer commission, anything?
Nothing to add.
addition.
Okay. Museum board, Tom.
Nothing to add.
Okay, there are other reports in your packet, the water and sewer financial report, the airport financial report, and department progress reports. Anybody with questions on these?
I have a couple questions on, let's see, administration department.
Nicola?
The first one is under finance division, and I'm trying to clarify this. Under finance division, I said, I believe, completed year-end compensation time payout and updated employee leave. It says banks. Is that correct? Banks
Yes.
versus blanks or something?
No, we call it a leave bank. So employees, non-exempt or hourly employees in the city of Platteville are able to choose if they have to work more than 40 hours in a week. They can either get paid out overtime or they can bank that time as comp time or compensatory time. And but there's a limit on that bank of 60 hours. And if they have any hours in the bank, I think it's October 31st, then it has to be paid out and it starts over with an empty bank. And so it's an annual kind of a bank. So yeah, it's a leave bank.
Okay, next one is on the same page. Third thing from the bottom, old chief inspector debrief meeting. Who is the chief inspector?
And but to the city clerk on that one. Yeah.
It's under clerk division.
Sure. So the chief inspectors are the ones who are in charge of the elections. And I have 4 main chief inspectors, 4 backup chief inspectors. So we have meetings usually monthly. And this was our meeting to just walk through the elections, see what we can do better the next time. Does that answer your question, Ken?
Yes, it does. The next one is on the next page under Administration Director, Continued Development of Accounting and Finance Manager. Now, let's see. Who is the Accounting and Finance Manager?
Is Jeffrey Even?
Okay. I think that's all for that particular department, administration. Then I have some marked here for Parks and Recreation. And this is under, it says, accomplishments. The administrative assistant position is filled in November, period. Erica Lindsley was selected from a good pool of 35 applicants. She will begin work December 9th. My question is, will she be a person that is knowledgeable about forestry, urban forestry?
No, I don't believe so.
And then we have another position, open position was filled December 16th. Same question, is this person knowledgeable about urban forestry?
He has worked in Parks and Rec before. I don't know his specific knowledge on urban forestry.
Okay. So I believe that's it. Or let's see if I have any more. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else with questions on the department progress reports? Then thank you very much to our department directors. We'll move into the action portion of our agenda. The first item on our agenda is ordinance 24-15, amending section 7.04 of the municipal code. This is lead service line replacement delay. Howard.
Yes, thank you. The current ordinance was passed in 2022, requiring all lead service lines be replaced by December 31st of this year. It was selected to ensure that they were replaced in time so that we could get some samples taken prior to a September 2025 deadline where DNR may have required us to inject chemicals to reduce corrosion. Since that time, Superintendent Kowalski has performed the required testing, and DNR has sent us a letter saying that we have met the requirements and will not be required to inject orthophosphates. We still need to remove the lead service lines. As of November 22nd, we had 43 properties that were taking no action to comply. We don't believe that they will be able to get them done here in the next 2-3 weeks, especially with the cold weather. Water and Sewer Commission recommends that the council amend this section 7.04 to delay the deadline from December 31st to June 30th, 2025. Some new information. We learned last week that all LSL replacement projects will require Davis-Bacon wage rate compliance for those who apply on or after December 1st. Prior to this, it was limited to commercial properties only. Now it includes residentials. Unfortunately, there's no more money against this. So unfortunately, the ones who have not turned in their requests, they will end up having additional costs that cannot be covered by.
What is the rate for Davis-Bacon?
It depends on what the particular trade is and the conditions. I have not looked them up. So if you're a plumber or if you're a contractor doing excavation, those have different rates based on what the federal government deems is the appropriate wage for those classifications of employees, of workers.
Well, now, considering the type of workers that are going to have to work to do it for the people, the private people, what would you say that the rates would range from? The simplest rate is what, $7.45? So it's more than that.
Generally, they're a lot more than that. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now to be able to give you anything to go on. Traditionally, when I look at a lot of these things, this will end up requiring about 30% more for a project or whatever, if you need to use that, the Davis-Bacon wages.
So these will apply to the homeowner.
That's correct.
And the city will not have this because they finished up their part as far as the lead lines.
Well,
The city has no lead lines of its own to replace. I think, is that the question you're asking?
yes,
That's done.
that is correct.
That is done.
That is correct.
So the
Yeah.
city's not going to pay it, but the homeowner's going to pay it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Howard, at the beginning of this process, this year, we started with how many? So, I mean, you say there are 43 left. How many got done?
Well, we started with 110, so there's
60 some.
67, yes,
So 67 got done this year, 43 didn't.
correct.
Well, kudos to those who moved forward. Okay, we have a ordinance amendment that, or approval that we're looking for, is revising a deadline for the removal of lead service lines from what had been December 31st to December 31st of this year to June 30th of 2025.
I so move to approve the ordinance 2515
2415.
or 2415, revising the deadline for removal of all lead service lines, LSL in the city of Platteville to June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom and a second by Ken to approve ordinance 2415, amending section 7.04 of the municipal code. Colette will vote.
Killian,
Yes.
Null,
Yes.
Parrot,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next on our agenda is the Idle Sites Redevelopment Grant Application. This is for 825 East Business Highway 151. Joe?
Yes, thank you. So that's the former Honeywell property on Business Highway 151. Was recently purchased by a group of investors, and they're looking to do some improvements to the building and property. And due to the high costs of those improvements, they're looking for some grant assistance to help with that. They've been working with Abby at Paydick on an idle sites redevelopment grant through Wisconsin Economic Development. And from her initial feedback with WEDC, it looks very promising. So we're pursuing that further. But the way that program is set up is the city is the actual applicant for the grant. We would get the grant funds if awarded. We would then have an agreement with the owners of the property to do the project and then would reimburse them for the cost of that. So the grant would be up to $250,000. It's a matching grant. The property owners would be responsible for the matching costs to that grant. The city's involvement would basically be administering the grant itself in cooperation with PAYDEC. We've never done an actual idle sites redevelopment grant, but it's structured similar to the CDI program that we've done 3 of them since I've been here. So,
Including one that's currently underway at the Armory.
right, yeah.
Okay, questions or action on the idle sites redevelopment grant application?
Joe, I have a question for you. Concerning this, does the city, other than through its permits and the ordinances concerning that type of property, have any other control?
Nothing beyond just normal zoning and building codes
Okay,
be applicable. I mean,
so,
we will have a development agreement with the property owner
okay, so,
associated with this grant.
so the development agreement will, in other words, make sure that the money so distributed to them for the cost is under our observance?
Yeah, I mean, it specifies what they have to use the money for, and obviously it's the advantage of it being a reimbursement grant is they actually send me invoices and receipts for the project.
Okay,
So we can verify that they're using it for what they said they were going to use it for.
okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Oh, I have a question. Is this grant limited? Like, is there, if the city co-signs or is the advocate or whatever, and then we need money like that later that we could qualify for a grant, does that knock us out or is this unlimited? Like, how does that?
Well, I mean, this particular grant is structured for privately owned property. So we were working in cooperation with, the property owner to do that. We would be limited to, I think, so many in a time period, so it would impact additional applications for other similar projects, but nothing that would be directly a city-owned property.
So I do have one other question.
And Ken has a question too.
Go ahead.
My question is, it says to approve the resolution, and the resolution is not listed here, and so is the resolution 24-22?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that should be in the motion. To approve resolution 24-22.
Correct.
And then Tom?
My question deals with the developers listed a number of properties they have purchased before and have developed. Where are those properties at?
I do not know the answer to that. This group is primarily from the Madison area. They
Okay.
do have, one of the owner's sons attends UW Platteville, so that's their Platteville connection at this point. But
Okay,
when I had talked to the individual early on when he was looking at property, I know he's a realtor in the Madison area and he's got some other investors that have purchased properties in Southwest Wisconsin.
okay. I'm just concerned it's not somebody from Timbuktu that's saying they've done all this and we haven't done our due diligence to make sure that what they're saying isn't true.
Yeah, in this case, I mean, they've already purchased the property, so it is their property.
Not that we would exclude investors or folks interested coming from Timbuktu to Platteville.
I understand, but what I'm saying is
Understood.
just want to make sure that we're not in a situation where we're double guessing ourselves on what we've done.
All right, any other questions? Then I would be ready for a motion.
I'll move. I move to approve Resolution 2422, authorizing submission of an application for an idle sites grant to assist with the property and building improvements at 825 East Business Highway 151.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ken and a second by Todd to approve resolution 24-22. Colette will vote.
Killian,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is contract 9-24, snow and ice removal. This was tabled from the last meeting. So the first thing I would need would be a motion to take this off the table so that we can discuss it.
I'll motion to take it off the table.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to take this off the tables for discussion. Colette will vote.
Killian,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, contract 9-24, snow and ice removal. Howard.
Yes, thank you. We do have the ordinance requiring property owners to remove snow and ice from public sidewalks. If they fail to do so, the city is authorized to have it removed and bill the owner plus an administrative fee. We received one bid from Holman Lawn Care. They're quoting $300 minimum per location or per hour for snow removal or only, or $500 per location or per hour for snow and ice removing with salting. In the past, last year, it was $55 minimum. So there was some additional information just to clarify different things. The current policy is that whenever there is a single snow event of 3 inches or more, or successive snow events with a cumulative total of 3 inches or more, the code enforcement inspector goes out 24 hours after the snowfall to spot potential violations. They're potential violations because the ordinance says 36 hours. The inspector places a door hanger on the door. After a second 24 hours, the inspector goes back for a reinspection. If it's not removed, then it is in violation and subject to snow removal. If there is a snow event in that 24 hours between the door hanger and the enforcement, the clock restarts. As I said, last year, Holman was our contractor, charging $55. And then we added our $50 administrative fee, so it was a $105 minimum charge. We had 2 days when the code enforcement inspector went out, January 18th and January 19th. There were 70 door hangers put out between the 2 days, and 14 of those 70 ended up being shoveled. As an aside, some additional information. In the 22-23 season, there were 9 that were shoveled, and there was 1 repeat address between the 2 different snow seasons. It was an owner-occupied property by the same owner. So we can either award the contract at the bid price plus our administrative fee, or you can reject the bid and have Parks Division perform the snow removal. Staff's suggestion is $150 per location or per hour, plus the administrative fee.
It's a comment, I guess. I was the one that pushed this forward to be tabled. I do appreciate this information. There seems like there's a very adequate policy here that gives people a chance to write their problems, and I think it's very reasonable. I don't think that the amount this person is asking for is too much. I know they must provide insurance, if I'm not mistaken, and I know that insurance probably sits at well over $1,000 plus the time, and I don't think I would go out to shovel some of this either, knowing some of the areas for anything less. So I appreciate all the information provided. Thank you.
So you
So
favor
Todd,
the
are you,
$500?
Well, you know, if they gave me two chances here, I'm not saying it's a small amount of money, but if I'm given this amount of chance, I could even hire somebody myself if I'm given this 48 hours. And I feel that this is reasonable. At least it's not somebody out in the middle of the night searching throughout the city, taking photographs and removing without any due process or without any city involvement. So I find that this at least appears to be a reasonable idea.
The $500 you think is reasonable?
Well, I think that's awful expensive, but I think it would compel somebody to hire somebody if they needed to. And I think this gives them the time to do it.
I tend to
there's a
agree
problem.
with Todd. I mean, I think it's a terrible amount of money, but I think the last time I was here, we talked about this. I remember when we implemented the $50 parking ticket in the places where people were, had to have parking hangers, and people came in and complained and said, well, that's too high. And we said, well, the point here is that you need not to park there. And I think the point here is you need to shovel your snow
Set
or
up
make
for somebody else.
arrangements for
Yes.
somebody else to shovel it.
I have a question for Howard and a comment. Excuse me, Howard, when you said, I can't remember, there were 70 some and then 14 were shoveled.
Correct.
Did you mean 14 had to be shoveled by Holman or 14 were shoveled by the occupants and then the rest had to be taken care of?
Oh, I want to clarify, the 14 were the ones shoveled by Holman, the
Okay.
contractor.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, the
So
vast
most people-
majority took care of it themselves.
Okay, thank you.
So 6 on one day and 8 on the next.
Yeah, my only concern is kind of I don't know if you call it the optics of raising the maximum from $105 to $555 in one fell swoop, or $355 if there's no ice. And I don't know if that's going to like come back and bite us when we're trying to do other projects and other things, if people will be upset and it'll just look bad, or I think it's a small enough number that the people will take care of it. I know someone mentioned last time, you know, there are some people who may be physically unable to do it, and maybe they don't have the means or I guess the knowledge to hire someone right on the spot and within the 24 hours.
Clint, can we share Jenny's? I asked about repeat offenders and those kind of things. Our code enforcement officer said there aren't many repeat offenders. I can only think of about 15 properties off the top of my head that I always have to give reminders to. And then she goes on to kind of, I'm not going to single those out. The other few are rentals. Of these repeat offenders, most of them have to be reminded every time it snows. I hardly ever have properties owned or lived at by owners not shoveled.
Almost all renters.
After I send out reminders, about 85 to 90% of the people who receive the reminders shovel. Ken?
I'd like to go back to an experience that occurred a few years ago. And this was when it occurred near First English Lutheran Church. And there was also a person on the corner there, Division Street, and what is that street, Chestnut? And they were asked to shovel the ice. And so they were chipping off the ice on a Sunday. They said that the city had set up that they were supposed to have this done by Sunday noon. The lady on the corner called me on Saturday afternoon and said, I am unable, I'll start that over. I have difficulty getting somebody to do this on Saturday afternoon. The lady was in her 80s, so I find that what is going to be the situation now? Is anybody going to be required to get their shoveling done on a Sunday or a Saturday, and you can't get the proper individual to do it for them because they can't do it themselves? And Howard, you remember that situation?
Yes, I do. I also remember council members chastising me about not having contractors or city staff go out on the weekend and allowing people to potentially slip and fall on sidewalks that were not shoveled over the weekend. So
you
I've,
think
I've
that-
had it both
So you
ways.
think then that people should be out there doing that work when they can't find somebody to do the work for them?
I'm going by the direction of the council. Like I said, at one time, we did not do it, and I was chastised for not doing it on the weekend, and now you're telling me that I should allow people latitude if they can't get it done on the
Well,
weekend.
You're not doing, to me, you're not giving flexibility. You need to be flexible enough so that somebody can find the proper worker or company to do the work. I don't expect an 80-year-old person to go out and shovel snow and chip ice. And plus also the situation was very cold. Now my next question is, when they go out and do it, let's say it winds up to be the parks people, will the parks people be doing the work of the CEI, the code enforcement inspector?
They do not do that portion of it. They
Not gonna
don't,
do
they don't
that.
do they wouldn't do the inspections or placement of door hangers. They would respond to the request of the code enforcement inspector to do the snow and ice removal.
May I intercede?
Anyway, I see $500 as too much.
Actually, it's $300 for snow removal.
So I got a question. When we tabled this last week, did anybody, like, did we talk to people? Like, what is the community saying about that big change of money? Has anybody talked to anybody?
Well, I think, Lynn, I sought information about repeat offenders, and I learned that very seldom are people who are owners occupied, that this, and that it basically is about 15 properties that are repeat offenders. So
That would,
I don't know how you
yeah.
move from, you know,
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering because when we tabled it because we were trying to figure out what would be the best deal. And I don't have that issue. I don't have, so it wouldn't bother me. So anyway, on Ken's point, is there anything that the city could offer a person? Or how could we help them? Like, how if the 80-year-old doesn't know, let's just say they really don't know how to get somebody to help them, like, is there something like a resource we can attach to the notice that says that your stuff it's gonna be $500 or $300, but you can call? Do we want to do something like that? Or, I mean, because I get what he's saying about the due diligence, but I also get that people, you got to do something about the snow. If you own a home, if somebody falls on your property, then you got to pay for their damage. So I'm just wondering if, playing devil's advocate or helping the community out, can we or do we want to do that? Is that too much to do? That's just where I'm thinking.
I happen to agree with you on some of those points. Is there any way, as was mentioned, that we can somehow inform, or that the city, if they would have a problem, a homeowner that is, not a rental unit, but a homeowner that would have difficulties in getting their sidewalk shoveled or whatever, would the city be able to provide that service at what we estimated that our cost would be? In other words, would we be able to help that person out without them having to pay $300?
I guess,
Tough if we're
Tom,
undercutting these people. We
Right.
ask for a bid and then we come along as a city and undercut it. I think that just kind of,
I was gonna say, I don't think, in many ways, now is the time that people have to arrange for their snow removal. If they believe they can't do it, now is the time they need to arrange for that. I'm sure that people could call the local school system. I'm sure that people could call the local university. I'm sure that people could call the senior center and others and say, do you have folks who have come in and said they want a shovel? I mean, I understand that somebody who's 80 or 85 or 90 may not be on Facebook that morning and be able to find the kid that's out with a snow shovel. But I think that I saw a lot of that last year with, frankly, kids trying to earn some money. And, I think now is the time that people need to make that arrangement. I mean, you don't make the arrangement. You don't put up a fence for your cows after the cows are out of the pasture, right? You don't know that. Portland doesn't know about
maybe
it.
particularly after this meeting and our, I guess, end result, perhaps there would be some people, some kids that would get on Facebook and offer their services. I think it's a great idea for an entrepreneur to,
Yeah.
a young entrepreneur to try and make some money.
Wonder.
Agreed.
So do we have a motion that somebody wants to offer?
Well, since I started this, I'll offer a motion. Option 1, to award the bid to Holman Lawn Care and Snow Removal LLC.
We have a motion by Todd to award the contract 924 for snow and ice removal to Holman Lawn Care and Snow Removal. Do I have a second?
Second,
All right, we have a motion, a second by Tom. Colette will vote.
Killian,
No,
no,
yes.
Parrot,
Okay, I was trying to read them because, okay, that's what you did.
Yeah, if I wasn't clear enough,
Option
Yeah.
one.
you
Oh,
did read
option
it.
one.
Option 1.
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes,
Gates,
I know.
motion carries.
okay, and Jody and staff, let's make sure there's a press release that helps people. And Howard, who does the code enforcement officer report to?
Me,
Okay, let's issue a letter to the folks who have been repeat offenders so that they know this change is coming. Okay, some of those may not know.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next referendum advisory question, support for the Family Aquatic Center. Bob,
Thank you. Since PARS chartered in August of 2024, they have done a good deal of work, including a public survey. The survey results showed a majority in favor of replacing the pool with strong support, even if the pool would incur higher taxes. PARS and the Parks Committee now comes before the council with a request to approve a referendum advisory question to be placed on the ballot in April of 2025. PARS is recommending the following language for the question. Should the city of Platteville borrow up to $6.9 million for the construction of a replacement aquatic center? I put a note in here in lieu of the ballot advisory referendum, council may by ordinance waive the referendum requirement. And then I cited the statute. It is minimal impact for the ballot question on a regular election cycle. And staff is recommending the council approve a referendum advisory question be put on the April 2025 general election or take action to waive the advisory referendum requirement of the City Code 3.42 by a majority vote. I've included a sample affirmative motion, and we've also included attachments with a cost estimate for the construction of a similar sized pools, a tax levy impacts on the 200,000 assessed value home, Platteville Family Aquatic Center frequently asked questions, and the swimming pool concept design evaluation. PARS Committee Chair Bob Gates is here to answer a lot of those questions you might have.
Okay, questions for Bob or for Bob? On this request to have an advisory referendum question. So we have to understand it's an advisory. It's not requesting money. It's saying should. It doesn't say will or we can, or it's an advisory referendum. Questions?
I have a question. Does that, you're putting a dollar amount on that referendum, am I correct?
Yep, up to 6.9 million.
Okay. I have a question. Up to 6.9 million. Would there be instances where it might be better that it's more open-ended, or that there is an amount, because all of a sudden, if it comes to be that we say 6.9 and people all of a sudden think, oh yes, they're only supposed to spend 6.9 million on this, and they're going to spend 7.25, that we run into problems? Because I know it's advisory, but
Correct.
when you talk to the public, advisory doesn't always mean that they think it's the same thing as what we would as a council.
Sure. Yeah, and that was kicked around a lot. And the 6.9, because it is a yes or no question, right? So we wanted to keep it very simple in that fact, and it was recommended by the attorney that keep it that simple. But that number was highly evaluated, and the range was that 6.4 to 6.9. And if the committee felt, and I won't speak for all the committee members, and Bob's right here, but the committee felt if it did exceed 6.9, then we would really try to hopefully be able to fundraise for any extra money that it might cost.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the public understands that it's advisory.
Yes. And we're really hoping to educate the public even more so than what we have been currently, with now being able to move forward. We have press releases that we can put out there with actual things that are happening and going on. So I think I think they should be educated if they so choose.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Additional questions of either Bob?
I guess one thing I'd like to add is just these, the one sheet that provides estimates of the tax impact for 65 or 6.5 million, 7 million, and 10.5 million. Those are estimates, and we have consulted Ellers, and we're just waiting for a reply from them that would have a much more accurate estimate that we will then provide to the public.
But irregardless, this won't be complete until 2027, right? Nothing's gonna happen by 2026. I just had this conversation.
If we're waiting until the referendum to actually hire an engineer to do the design with the schematics and the construction plans, there's no way it would be done by 2026. It'd be really surprising. So 2027 is the date that, if we are waiting until after the referendum to actually hire the engineer to get started on the real plans, 2027 would be as early as, I guess, the experts on our committee projected.
Additional questions? Okay, do we have anybody who wants to make a motion?
I move to support, I move to approve a referendum advisory question be put on the April 2025 ballot that reads as follows. Should the city of Platteville borrow up to 6.9 million for the construction of a replacement aquatic center?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second about the wording for an advisory referendum for the April 2025 ballot. We'll vote.
Killian,
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Parrot,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
motion carries.
And I have to say thank you to Bob and their work with the Pool Advisory Committee. You guys have been very diligent in your approach, and certainly the passion of people is very evident in the advances that you've made. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is award contract 22-24. Bus RFP for 2025-2029 service. Howard.
Thank you. Yes. The DOT requires a request for proposal process for all public transportation contracts. Our current bus provider did not wish to extend the existing contract. So in September, I put out requests for proposals. They were due back at the end of October. And then during the month of November, we did the evaluation process. This would be a 2-year fixed price contract with up to 3 one-year extensions. The extensions would be increased in accordance with the Consumer Price Index. We received 2 proposals, one each from Russ Stratton Buses and Davis Bus Lines. The evaluation committee reviewed and scored the proposal as required under the RFP. When looking at all components, Davis Bus was scored the best out of 100 points. Based on the rules, there must be 10 business day waiting period for a contract can be signed to allow for a possible protest. Because of the Thanksgiving holiday, the protest ending period is close of business tomorrow. If there are no protests, we can sign the contract on or after December 12th. I have the different quotes and everything. What we ended up doing was we chose a minimum hours, 1,550 hours for an orange route bus route only during the academic year. All other routes were eliminated. It would have meant an additional $100,000 in local funding by UW Platteville between the 2 services. So we're recommending the award to Davis Bus Lines for the 1,550 hours at $90 per hour on or after December 12th, pending protests.
Are those protests from the fellow bidder?
Who
They-
can protest? The
Who can
question is, who can
protest?
protest?
Most likely, it would have to be the other service provider. I have no indications that they intend to protest, but per the rules, we have to allow the time period so that they can do so if they wish.
Who is our current provider?
Current provider is Russ Stratton Buses.
Okay, and they're out of Cuba City?
Correct.
And Davis Bus Lines is
They're out of Darlington.
Darlington, okay? And am I correct in believing, understanding that actually we own the buses that are used?
That is correct. They were funded with a federal grant for 80%, and actually the university provided the 20% local match for the 2 buses.
And so we have 2 buses and now we'll go to 1 bus route. Is
Correct.
that correct?
That's
And 1
correct.
bus route only during the academic year.
That's correct.
Okay. And so we don't see the contract itself, but the pricing is based, I mean, when they have to submit a price at $90 an hour or $62 an hour or whatever they submit, are they, I mean, what, because they don't have bus repair, right? Who does the bus repair?
The contractor is responsible for all operation, maintenance, fueling, repairs, everything,
And insurance?
and insurance.
So the only thing that the city provides the bus.
That's
and-
correct.
And then it's like handing someone a tool and now you
Yes.
got to do everything else.
Yes. We lease those buses for $1 a year to our provider, and they pay for everything else. And that comes out of the hourly contract price.
So if one would break down for some reason, we'd still have a replacement.
Yes, that's kind of the idea, is that if the one breaks down or if it's scheduled, has scheduled maintenance, that they would use the other one. If they want to switch them off, that's totally up to them.
In other words, the service shouldn't be interrupted.
That's correct.
Okay, since the buses are, will we license it?
Yes.
We will
Um,
license both buses?
Yes, we would do the taxi/bus licenses and the operator licenses. But since we haven't awarded the contract, we don't have that technical piece. But since the next actual operation of the bus would be January 27th, when the spring semester starts, there's at least one common council meeting where you all can approve the licenses for the vehicles and the operators.
But I'm just asking, even though we own 2 buses and they're only going to have 1 bus route, we will license both buses.
That's correct.
And
I mean, we have 4 taxi cabs and we pay for 3 of them to be on the road, up to 3 of them to be on the road at any one time. And they license all 4 vehicles.
And will we insure the unused bus?
It's their insurance. When we lease it to them,
So they're going
that's
to lease both buses,
they lease both buses,
Okay.
and
even though they only have 1 route.
that's correct.
I think I got it now. Anybody with any other questions?
I so move to award the contract 22-24 to Davis Bus Lines LLC for 1,550 hours at $90 per hour on December 12th, pending protests.
I'll second.
All right, I heard Ken first. So motion by Tom, second by Ken to approve contract 22-24 to Davis Bus Lines. Colette will vote.
Killian,
Yes,
Noel,
Yes.
Parrot,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Emergency Services Agreement. Clint.
Thank you. As we discussed on November 26th Common Council meeting, we have a emergency service agreement continuation with Southwest Healthcare Center that is in your packet. The main features of this contract is it would extend through 2034. The contract includes language for right of first refusal to purchase the necessary assets in the event that Southwest were to ever cease providing these services, of which we certainly hope that they always do. The goal of this contract is to ensure ongoing coordination and cost-effective emergency medical services for the residents of the participating municipalities. The major change in this contract as compared to the existing contract is the design of the annual support fee, or the ASF, and the associated increase in rate. The current agreement is capped with the partners, the city and townships in Cuba City, at a ASF of $150,000 annually. Roughly $115,000 of that was apportioned to the city of Platteville. In review of the emergency services financial performance data from previous years, the ASF for the partners often did not bridge the gap in operating losses, and Southwest was absorbing those losses. The adjusted rates reflect past expenditure trends and forecasted increases. Southwest Health's goal is to operate the emergency services with financial efficiency at a net zero loss. To address this increase, staff have assessed several scenarios and increasing service charges to cover the increases and are recommending the adjustments here that you see below. The estimated increase in total is about $70,000 to be collected through utility billing system as a fee delivery mechanism. It is proposed that the rates adjusted, you'll see a commercial, industrial, and public authority from a $10 to a 15.37, and for residential multifamily from $1.42 to $2.19. Recommendation tonight, staff recommends entering the agreement with Southwest Health for continued emergency services and adjusting the ambulance service fees as proposed. Sample affirmative motion action language is included on your staff summary, Madam President.
Questions?
I was given a copy, I believe, this agreement, is that correct? Right?
Yes, you had requested a copy of the
Original agreement.
the original or current as of yet.
Getting older, but my memory says to me that we had an agreement at one time. I remember it. We were paying enough money, so we paid off the building that was built for Southwest Health, which was made out of cement block, and our payment over the first 7 years paid for the building. So that's my recollection. And so these documents, this seems too long. That's my comment.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
A motion. I move to authorize the city manager to enter into the emergency services agreement with Southwest Health and to adjust the ambulance service fee to $15.37 per month for commercial, industrial, and public authority, and $2.19 per month for residential and multifamily.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize Clint to execute this emergency services agreement and make the adjustments in fees. Colette will vote.
Gillian?
No,
No.
Yes.
Parrot?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, that's the end of our action items for tonight. We'll move on to our information items. The first one is review bids for property sale. This is the property that we own close to this building at 210 North Bonson Street. Joe.
Yes, excuse me, the property at 210 Bonson Street was previously owned by Family Advocates. We had acquired, the city helped them acquire the property back in 1985, and there was a deed restriction that whenever they cease using it as a shelter, it returns to the city of Platteville ownership. So the council authorized September that staff proceed with accepting bids or soliciting bids for the sale of that property. We did receive 5 bids for that property, ranging from $12,000 to $175,000. excuse me, I do have a summary of the bids in the packet. The high bid of $175,000 is actually a proposal for a land contract purchase. So they would pay 10% down, 17,500, then pay monthly payments of $1,049.21 for 5 years, and then make a balloon payment of $162,845.12 at that 5-year mark. That payment schedule actually does have an error in there because when he did his amortization formula, he forgot that he should have subtracted the down payment amount from the total. So he's actually amortizing the full 175,000. So it's an error in the city's benefit, but I did give him the opportunity to withdraw the bid, and he wants to proceed with the bid as submitted. So Tyler Beers is the individual's name. I'm not familiar with him. I've never worked with him before. He's from Wazeeka. So the second high bidder is more of a standard purchase bid submittal from Laufenberg and Larson Properties, which is a local landlord property owner for a purchase price of $161,000. The only contingency with that bid would be they want to do a final walkthrough just to make sure primarily that there's no burst water pipes from the cold weather. So those, in my mind, are the two options. The other ones are much lower bids. So I think it's whether the council feels comfortable with a land contract type of a purchase, or if you'd prefer to go with a standard purchase price. Any questions?
So on a land contract, then if they don't make the balloon payment, then it goes back to us, correct?
Right. So essentially, if we select that one, we would deed the property to them, but then we would turn into the bank for the property. So we would have a mortgage and a note, and at any point they fail to make the payments or make the balloon payment, then we would foreclose on the property through that process and get the property back. So it comes with more money, but the downside is that we have to wait 5 years to get the bulk of that money, and there is some risk that the payment is not made.
And compared to the 161,000, what's your thinking on the risk for a land contract versus a straight purchase?
Well, I said, I mean, that is a little bit of my concern because the vast majority of that payment amount is that one-time payment. So if that is not made, we're getting 17.5 at closing, and then $1,049 a month. So it's basically like they're renting it at that point. Like I said, it's a lot more money, but it does come with the risk associated with that, and we have to wait to receive that money. So the 161,000 is paid at closing, and we move on. So
in other words,
a
it's
risk reward.
$14,000 difference.
Well, it's a significant amount of money if you count
Out
the
in the
interest over the years.
amortization.
Right. So it would be, they would be deeded the property, so they would be the owners of the property. They would be responsible for taxes and insurance, just like any other property. So that'll be on for decision at the first meeting in January.
Okay, anybody else with questions? Joe, the money that we get from this sale will go into our housing fee, or,
I
do we have to determine where that would go?
I looked a little bit to see what I could find on the history of that property, and I couldn't find anything regarding where the city obtained the money to help with that purchase. So I'm not aware of any restrictions on what we do with those funds when we receive them. So it would go into the general fund unless the council, has another use for it, which I'm sure there are other uses that we could think of.
Perhaps the redevelopment authority would be a use.
Has there
I
been a
mean, since
title?
this is a redevelopment property, maybe taking the money from this property and funneling it to the redevelopment authority would be an idea.
Has there been a title search then done?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
I mean, we had the original deed back from 1985 when we had it. And then the warranty deed that has
Right.
to family advocates.
but we know of no other liens or anything that been put up against it, correct?
Nothing I'm aware of. I haven't done a title search, but it's our property at this point, so.
Well, it's still the point that since it's our property, we don't want to be in a situation where we go to closing and all of a sudden find out that there's a lien on the property that we don't know about.
Right, right. No, I haven't done one. I'm not aware of one.
Okay.
Okay, this will be on our agenda for action in January. If you have additional questions relative to land contract versus outright sale, please contact Joe and get those questions resolved. Let's move on to the next agenda item, the certified survey map for the fire station. Again, Joe.
Yes, so this is a certified survey map to combine all of the parcels that will make up the site of the fire station. So the Old Gray property, when the school district owned it, actually was 3 separate parcels. And then we had acquired the 2 additional parcels from the Peterson. So this CSM will combine them all into one lot for construction purposes. The only thing, I guess, a little bit different as far as most CSMs is there is a provision to do some public land dedication as part of this, and that is to provide some additional right-of-way along Adams Street, Court Street, and Lewis Street to allow for the public sidewalk to be widened. And also along Lewis Street, there is some of that existing angled parking that has been in place since the school district installed it years ago. That's primarily on what was the school district property, but this would move the right-of-way line, so it would be part of the street parking. So that is also why the council has to approve this. We don't usually take CSMs to the council. It's usually a plan commission approval only, but since there's a right-of-way dedication, the council has to authorize it. Any questions?
Questions? Okay, then our next agenda information item is the election announcement for 2025. We know there's one election. Colette.
The April 1st spring election in 2025 will be held to elect alderpersons in District 1 and the at-large position. This is a 3-year term that will begin on April 15th, 2025. To run for the alderperson position, a candidate must meet the following criteria. They must be a citizen of the United States, 18 years of age or older, an elector or resident of the city of Platteville, not a convicted felon. And if they meet these, then they must complete the following documents. And these documents can be found on the website or at the clerk's office. The campaign registration statement, the declaration of candidacy, nomination papers for nonpartisan office. And the at-large position would require 50 to 100 signatures, and the district candidate would collect 20 to 40 signatures. As of December 1st, nomination papers for the alderperson positions could be circulated, and then they are required to be filed no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, January 7th in the clerk's office. If the incumbent alderperson wishes to declare non-candidacy, they must file the Form EL 163 by December 27th of this year.
And then you've included in the packet a alderperson council candidate information book that has all of that information too, which I assume can be also found on our website.
Yes, on the website, or they can pick one up at the clerk office.
You have 47 pages there.
Yes, there is, it's very extensive on the information.
Is, excuse me, is the salary for the council going to be increased?
Not that I'm aware of, Ken.
Double, Ken.
Yeah,
Doubling our salaries.
Well, we used to get $200 a month, and the council president got $250 a month. And I was thinking maybe if I would continue on, I'm shooting for age 100, so I might be able to go on salary, you know.
Anyway.
So what do you think is an appropriate salary for a council member here in the city of Platteville?
10 hugs a day, Ken, 10 hugs a day.
There we go.
How much would you say? No, as we come along here, as I go through the years, the book is getting thicker.
You're right.
It's getting thicker. You expect us to read more and more and more and more. And so I know in Madison, they pay a lot more. They have a regular council fee. So are we looking at $500? Go up to 500 for every member?
And I think it's a silent,
You think, you know
Item.
what I'm saying?
I think most of the, if I may interrupt, most of the citizens of Platteville don't realize that this is a volunteer position. Approximately 10 years ago or whatever, we decided that we would not be paid. As in most cases, when you have those individuals that are at the county or village or township, there is reimbursement for certain things. In this community, we do not get paid for the time and effort that we put in. And I think that's a compliment to those that are here. Because there is no better service that we can give to our community than to offer ourselves as volunteers to expedite and help the city grow and to help the city keep its citizens safe from all situations. And I also have to compliment our staff. I never, ever worked with a staff that is so dedicated to the city of Platteville than I have met this present staff. So when you see them on the streets doing their job, don't be critical of them. Understand where they're coming from because they're doing a job that they take very seriously and is very important to them. So please, as citizens of this community, be glad that you have them and also be glad that you have us serving on your council. Thank you very much.
Tom, thank you. And I would add that Platteville is known for its public servants. Not only does the council serve without pay, the school board also serves without pay in our community. And there are lots of people in this community who are dedicating lots of volunteer hours to help this community move forward. And so, as Tom said, thanks to all and thanks to staff. Now I have a motion. I need one more motion tonight.
Where's they paid?
Nope. One more motion
I so move.
to
Adjourn.
Second.
So we have a motion from Tom and a second from Todd.
Mhm.
That's Tom and Todd to adjourn. Colette will vote.
Jillian?
No.
Yes.
Harriet?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And thank you all.